joined today by Rob Bresnahan, who is a Congressman-Elect from Pennsylvania District 8. You recently won a seat in Congress held by a longtime incumbent. What motivated you to run for this office?
Well, I love my country. I love northeastern Pennsylvania. I was born here. I was raised here. I went to the University of Scranton. I created jobs here. I reinvested here. I'm going to die and get buried in northeastern Pennsylvania. And this is my home. And this was my opportunity to give back to my home in a much broader way.
For those who may not be familiar, I know you mentioned District 8 is in northeastern Pennsylvania. What cities, to give people a little bit of a specific location?
Sure. Our district encompasses Luzerne County, a half of Luzerne County, all of Lackawanna County, all of Wayne County, all of Pike County, and most of Monroe County. So it is truly, if you're looking at northeastern Pennsylvania, it is truly the northeastern quarter.
Who are the type of people that live and work in this part of the state?
You know, we have an epicenter of a lot of different things. I mean, we have a plethora of universities, from Marywood to University of Scranton to Misericordia to East Stroudsburg. But we're an old school town with incredible opportunities because of our geographical location. I mean, we are within 200 miles, 50 million people. We have the most interstate highway systems that connect within sight of our district, more than any other congressional district in the United States. But you have to look at the opportunities and the economic opportunities. We have the natural resources. We have the interstate highway systems. Within 1 day's drive, you can reach 60% of the United States population. So there's a lot of different people that live here, just normal, regular people from northeastern Pennsylvania. Some of the cities that you had asked about, which include Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, Stroudsburg, Nanticoke, Pittston, are some of the larger cities that fall within inside of the district. But, we're just hardworking, true people.
While you were on the campaign trail, what were some of the issues that were important to the people of this district?
Over a period of 13 months and 3 days, we drove over 50,000 miles. We knocked on over 50,000 doors. And the first thing everyone would talk about was how expensive everything was, how unaffordable life was, that they were financing their groceries on credit cards and, putting fuel inside of their vehicles and groceries and insurance and prescription medication and school property taxes. That was the first thing that everyone would be very forthcoming in providing information on. And that's a big reason why we decided to run, to make life affordable again. The conversations would naturally gravitate to what's happening on the southern border and the illegal migration situation, that they felt that, hey, I've worked my entire life. I paid into my vacation clubs. I've done everything I'm supposed to do. And they felt that the illegal migrants that were illegally entering the country were being taken care of better than our own Americans. And they would see the billions of dollars going to different countries, and they would say, hey, I have a bridge that I can't get across the Susquehanna. It's been closed for 39 months. And they're saying, well, what about us? Why are our roads such a disaster? Why are we getting flooded? Why aren't the levees being reinvested in our own communities? And that's the kitchen table issues that everyone, and what I feel this election came down to. I mean, yeah, I ran against a 12-year incumbent who's been incredibly gracious during this transition period. But this was a change election. People were willing to give someone who never ran for a public office before a chance to represent them. And if for my voters that are watching, I want to say thank you for believing in me and your willingness to give me a chance. And I've always said there's not an R or a D next to my name. It's NEPA. And those are the values and the morals that I'm going to take to Washington, D.C.
How do you plan on addressing these concerns in Washington?
Well, I think that's a broad question. I think there's not a silver bullet that's going to solve all of these different concerns. I think the process will be done through budget reconciliation. That is what we've already been talking through on the 100-day agenda. I believe the biggest contributor to inflation is energy pricing. I mean, every single piece of raw material we get comes on the back of a truck, on a train, on an aircraft, which all require various different degrees of fuel. Utility costs. Those are all economic drivers and derivatives to the escalation of materials, goods, groceries, whatever that case may be. So we need to really reduce the burdens on the natural gas industry and promote that. It's also a gigantic job creator within the state of Pennsylvania. There's about 500,000 direct jobs that come from the natural gas industry and another 500,000 indirect jobs. 46 billion in payroll are generated from the natural gas industry, and 1 in 2 homes are heated from natural gas. So northeastern Pennsylvania is certainly no stranger to the benefits of our natural resources, but there's a way that we can do this responsibly, but also still reduce the cost of living, and also just discretion, just the spending process. When we're spending close to $900 billion a year, which is more than your national defense budget, on just interest and debt service on the national debt. We're over $35 trillion right now. And ultimately, that will boil back down to the end user, to the end American, to us. And those will continue. That, like, we have to get our spending under control. And people say, oh, what kind of legislation would you look to introduce? I think we have plenty of legislation that's out there. And I think we have a spending problem more than a revenue problem. And I've always been a big believer of revenue hides a plethora of sins. But we need to get our spending under control. And there's been a lot of exciting conversations with inside of the conference on and how we're going to do that.
What about your campaign and do you think resonated with voters the most?
I'm a real person. I mean, what you see is what you get. I've always had the philosophy, I'd rather you hate me now than in 6 months, because I'm going to give you the truth yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I came into my family business when I was 19 years old. I was around my company my entire life. But after 2008, we were decimated by the financial downturn, and I was going to go to school in Philadelphia. I chose to remain in northeastern Pennsylvania, ended up going to the University of Scranton, where we had 50 employees that depended on the survival of our company. And over a period of 11 years, we were able to grow from 50 employees to 165 employees, work in 19 different states. We're IBEW, operating engineers. We're a union electrical contractor that performs traffic signals, decorative streetscape revitalization, power distribution recovery after natural disasters. And, I think we saw a lot of campaigns that overcomplicated some of the issues, and we kept it simple, because these are the issues. And going back to the kitchen table or the family room, or what you're talking about with your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, it's, how do we expect to survive when you're looking at grocery inflation in the state of Pennsylvania at over 8%? I mean, that's just the grocery inflation. So a lot of the people that I spoke to did not receive 20% raises to offset the current cost of living, the price of fuel, the price of car insurance. I mean, it was everything. So, we kept it really real. Also, like, we were with people. Before I ran for Congress, I was one of these people that were frustrated with seeing the escalation of materials. I mean, we saw copper wire increase over 350% from 2020. And, ultimately, those prices are going to be passed downstream to the end user, which is you and I. So we were able to just be real and talk to real people and say, hey, this would be my solution for this specific problem. Also just the environment itself. People were sick and tired of the same old, the Washington Beltway talk, and just seeing, the infighting and the polarity of both parties. And, the American person felt nothing was getting done. The first day I filed to run October 2nd, October 3rd was the Speaker McCarthy vote. And I remember sitting at the kitchen table with my fiance saying, what are we going to do? And I remember we looked at each other and we said, this is exactly why we're running, because we're sick of the infighting. We're sick of seeing the American people suffer because of what's happening in Congress. It really amplified our message, and it really, created a lot of meaning as to why we ultimately decided to jump in here, because we're going down here to get things done and deliver real wins for the people of not only northeastern Pennsylvania, but this country.
You flipped the district from Democratic to Republican control. How do you plan on working with people who are more Democratic leaning in this district?
Sure. Actually, a caucus that I had pledged to support was Problem Solvers, as well as No Labels, which actually later today I'm on my way back to DC, and it'll be our first meeting with them. And because of the slim majority in the margins, like I said earlier, it's not an R or a D issue. What's happening on the southern border is an American humanitarian problem, and it does not see a party affiliation, a donkey or an elephant. I mean, what we have here is a major concern that needs to be addressed. And I'm the first person willing to reach across the aisle. I realize and recognize that I'm never going to get 100% of what I want. But at the same time, I'm never going to compromise my values or the best interests of the people that elected to put me here. And I think that's what needs to remain paramount on all of my governing and all my legislative priorities, but also constituency service. I mean, whether you voted for me or not, and if you have an issue with the government that we can help you with, please reach out to us. We are here to work for the people of this district. We're going down to really make meaningful impact and change and bring a fresh set of ideas to possibly different challenges that may have just been the same old, time in and time again.
You mentioned wanting to join the Problem Solvers Caucus. What attracted you to them?
The bipartisan side of things. I believe that there is always a compromise or consensus to be reached. And even inside of the Republican caucuses, you have much more conservative people and you have much less conservative people. And it's all about putting people in a room and seeing your side of things and understanding the demographics of their district and their people. And, what's best for Northeastern Pennsylvania might not be best for rural Arizona. So you have to understand that there are 435 members of Congress, and everyone's been elected to represent their district. The best form of government is the government closest to the people. And that's why, we run every 2 years. That is what our founding fathers envisioned, that we are held accountable by our electorate every 2 years. I don't know if our founding fathers would have envisioned a congressional race costing over $40 million like mine. Certainly that's the evolution of time. But you have to be able to get things done. And, you look at the approval rating of Congress, it's like, 11 or 12%. And, that's very discouraging because people are right now, people are struggling. Hopefully things will continue to trend in the right direction. I do believe within the first few weeks of being sworn in. I know that they're suggesting that we don't plan any Saturday departures because there is a lot of work to be done. Specifically, the budget reconciliation process. There's the cauterization of the 2016 tax cuts, which will be expiring in this Congress, and 199A, and the small business deductions, and the C corps, and the estate taxes. Those are all plans that people have been, awaiting a direction on. So I'd like to also make sure that those initiatives are brought to the table.
Final question. You mentioned having a background in business. How will that go hand in hand, do you see, with your role in Congress?
So in 2008, after the financial downturn, we were a great company. We had incredible concepts and structure, but it really became a challenge just with how payments were being delayed and how general contractors were struggling and feeling a squeeze. And I remember my first day when maybe whatever day I came in, I remember we were millions of dollars in debt and we had to find a way to dig ourselves out and, find a way that we could stand on our own 2 feet and become a self-sufficient company. And that's exactly what we did. I've always balanced a checkbook. I've always signed the front of a paycheck. I'm a real estate developer. All of my developments have never been completed with a single dollar of taxpayer money. It was always stuff that we can hang our hat on and know that we accomplished independently without the assistance of so much as anyone other than our own will, drive, and perseverance. But also in business, we're a union electrical contractor. So we've worked with our different skilled tradesmen and women, and we've been able to, put aside political differences perhaps, and know at the end of the day, everyone wants an economy that works. They want borders that are secure, and they want communities that are safe. And when you operate from that perspective, it only makes sense that we can get a lot done. And the American people certainly tasked this 119th Congress with some incredible challenges that we need to find a way to work together on and ultimately provide some solutions.
Rob Bresnahan, Congressman-Elect from Pennsylvania District 8, thank you for your time.
Thank you.